internationally speaking, because on the sidelines of the Brics Summit in Russia, Prime Minister Modi will hold a bilateral meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping today. This will be the first formal meeting between the two leaders in 5 years. The development comes the day after India and China agreed to an agreement to resume patrolling at the remaining friction points along the line of actual control in eastern Ladakh, where tensions have persisted since the Galwan Valley clash in 2020. Today's meeting is expected to focus on modalities for de-escalation and de-induction of troops by both sides to peacetime positions. India and China have deployed some 60,000 troops each along the LAC since the start of the standoff, that is. Now, the two leaders last had a structured meeting during the second informal summit in Mamlapuram in October 2019, months before start of the border standoff.
I can confirm that there will be a bilateral meeting held between Prime Minister Modi and President Xi Jinping tomorrow, 23rd of October, on the sidelines of the Brics Summit. The exact time and other logistics are being worked out, but the meeting will take place tomorrow.
Taking that point across to Pradeep Datta, my colleague. Pradeep, very good morning. This is an extremely important meet, especially after how we told our viewers a quick takeaway of what's really essentially happened in the past couple of years. How are we reading into this significant meet? And more importantly, geopolitically, what would this mean?
No doubt about that. This meeting is going to be very significant and open important also. All eyes will be on this bilateral between India and China after 5 years, as you rightly said, that finally two giants from Asia, they will be meeting and they'll be seen in one frame together. Because yesterday also there was one picture in which we saw Vladimir Putin, Xi Jinping and Modi sitting together on the dinner table. So that was also a very important picture because it signifies the importance of BRICS, because how it constitutes about 41% of the population, 26% of the GDP and 16% of the trade. And now these two leaders meeting together after Galwan, that's going to be very important. Everybody knew that ever since there had been a breakthrough in standoff, there is definitely going to be a meeting in this regard, because we saw that finally both the countries have agreed that there will be patrolling and they have agreed to disengagement on the border. It all started because of the fatal confrontation we had in 2020 when they tried to break status quo. They targeted Indian soldiers, 20 of them lost their life. And in retaliation, India was also able to inflict heavy casualty on Chinese side. Since then, there had been a standoff. You rightly said there had been a mobilization of troops. More than 60,000 troops were deployed on each side, and it was an eyeball-to-eyeball situation. But after this breakthrough on India's term and condition, it's really important for India that both these giants sitting together on talking table, they will be discussing several issues which will be related to trade, which will be related to cooperation. It will also be related to terror-related issues, because in recent past we have seen that China off and on had been siding with Pakistan, taking stand so far as India's action against terrorism is concerned. So maybe India is going to bring that issue also on the talking table. But this bilateral is really going to be very significant. That dragon and elephant meeting after 5 years, sitting together, two Asian giants, because this is going to change the temperature, geopolitical temperature in region. Because we have seen that there was an eyeball-to-eyeball contact between the soldiers on both the sides. Because once the soldiers will be going back to their normal position, status quo is again restored, there will be de-escalation and there will be normalization of the border management also. So it's going to be economically also good for both the countries, because the money that should have been spent for the welfare of the people and also the development of the border region, that was unnecessarily being spent on the mobilization of troops, because they had been there 24/7, 365 days since the Galwan thing happened. So that way it's going to normalize relations, because for the last several months we had been hearing that India said that unless and until the border situation is not going to improve, there can't be normal relationship between two countries. So it is a time for the normalization. Oddly, China has also confirmed about this thing. And now all eyes will be on the bilateral. What issues there really both the leaders are going to discuss. Yes, these two countries coming together, shaking hands. It's also going to be very important for Asia also, and also the geopolitics of the region is definitely going to change, because in recent past we had seen that both the countries had been taking position on several issues. But once there is going to be cooperation, because being neighbors, they have to be together, and definitely it's going to be good for both the countries, because normalization on border is normalizing the relationship between the two countries. So let's wait at 4:10. Today, finally, both the leaders will be meeting, and elephant and dragon will be once again seen together on the talking table, because something which they had been refraining from and avoiding ever since the Galwan thing had happened. So it's going to be a very important meeting in this regard. And already Prime Minister Narendra Modi has established his image as a negotiator, as a peace builder, because he already set the tone for the meeting yesterday during the opening remark when he told Vladimir Putin that he is going to play
Pradeep,
a very
as you
important
point
role.
that out, the timing of this is also essential, considering it's coming a day after the government announced that India and China have reached the agreement to resume patrolling, that is. So in a sense, is it safe to say that both are looking to put what has happened in terms of the tensions behind them and renew their relationship?
Yes, you're absolutely right, because China also has realized one thing. With the mobilization of troops, China is facing not many problems, because if they are going to have a good relationship with India, it's not only going to enhance their trade, but also it's going to further increase the cooperation in this region. So that's one of the reasons that ever since this breakthrough had been there in the standoff, and that too is important, is that it has been on the terms and condition of India, because India always wanted status quo in this region. But China was trying to change the status quo when there was a skirmish in Galwan region in which 20 of the Indian soldiers lost their life. And finally, India was able to hit China hard and hurt them most, which China had not realized, because they thought that it was an India of 1962, which is living with that defeatist syndrome. But India of 2021 and Modi's India was totally different. Within no time, there was a mobilization of troops from the Indian side also. And that's one of the reasons that China was taken aback. And so finally, China has realized that way they will not be achieving much, because already we have seen that the communication channel at the diplomatic level as well as the military level were open. There had been 31 rounds of talk at the diplomatic level and 21 round of talks were at the GOC level, that is Corps Commander level. So finally they had been able to achieve this standoff, this breakthrough in the standoff, and that's one of the reasons that everybody knew since yesterday that there were chances of bilateral between the two countries. And finally, the announcement yesterday late evening was made by the Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri that there is going to be bilateral. So people are waiting for final countdown has already begun. At 4:10, both the countries head will be meeting and discussing issues, and they will also be talking about the relationship between the two countries, how it can be further strengthened, and trade issue will be discussed, and also the terrorism issue will be discussed by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, because that's also one of the issues, because they don't want China to take stand so far as the Pakistan terrorism is concerned, because we have seen that they had been trying to bleed India 1,000 cut. Good that you have a good friendship with Pakistan, but that doesn't mean that you can take stand again in favor of terrorism, because at the end of the day, it is all about breeding snakes in your backyard, and then you can't think that it is only going to bite your neighbors. It can even bite you too. So that's what actually the message from the Prime Minister Narendra Modi side will be. But what is more important is that Prime Minister has already established his image as a negotiator, as a peace builder, because he set the tone during the inaugural remark, where he said that he wants there should be dialogue, there should be diplomacy, there should be discussion. This three-dimensional approach is only going to lead to de-escalation so far as the Ukraine and Russia is concerned, and this is going to be a reason for the de-escalation so far as Iran and Israel is concerned, because India is only one country that is having relationship with both Ukraine as well as Russia, having good relationship and influence both on Iran as well as Israel. So India can play a very important role. That's
right, Pradeep, I'll have to interject you there for the moment, but thank you very much for drawing an overall perspective as to what could potentially be the outcome as well. Of course, the only time's going to tell how this is going to pan out, but having said that, thank you very much. We leave it at